It all started with a weird transaction that I had to approve on my phone. You know, I didn't recognize the actual place this transaction was from, so I decided to open my app. I knew how much money was in my account. You know, there was a 4 in a specific place, so I opened the app and I saw a 4. But then I paused. The 4 was in the wrong place, and there were 4 digits instead of 5. Where did all my money go? Hi everyone, I'm the Rum, one half of Wine and Rum. We're an expat couple from Barbados and Austria living here in Dublin, Ireland. We make videos about what it's like living in Ireland, as well as some little things sometimes on productivity and finance. Today, it's going to be a finance video, because as you've seen in the title, I got hacked. Thank goodness it's a Rum alone video, because if it happened to both of us, that would have been pretty disastrous. As I said in the intro, this was after work, and I was as calm as someone could be for having most of the money on your account vanish. So I do what any person would do and freak out. Nah, not really. I decided to call the fraud department at the bank. I was like, okay. I was calling them, trying to see what the damage was. And there were so many transactions, fraudulent transactions, that my phone couldn't load all of them. I went onto the PC, and when I was actually talking to the lady, I was like, hi, I'm missing, this amount of money. And then she looked at my account and saw the amount of transactions. There was an audible, okay, we'll get on this for you right away. You know how usually in most situations you think that, yeah, customer service, they'll take their time. I heard the rush and panic of like, oh my gosh, how on earth did this happen? And yeah, that is a question that I still have yet to fully answer. What actually happened is that, of course, we're in pandemic times, and without going outside, I pretty much have, like maybe most people, automated transactions happening. So I expected mine to go up at the start of the month, and nothing else happened. So therefore, I wasn't really checking my account or anything like that. And usually, if any transactions from outside of Europe occur, I get a notification that I have to approve them. The weird thing is that for almost like 8 days, hundreds of transactions were happening on my account. No, this tens of thousands of euros didn't just disappear in, an instant. It was small, like 20, 30 euro transactions happening daily. And, up to now, if it wasn't for that last approval text message, I would have realized, oh my gosh, there's 0 on my account. Yeah, I don't know why for many of these transactions, which were obviously from the US by some of the things. If AARP means anything to you, yeah, I swore I've seen that name, ads when I used to watch US TV in the Caribbean. So that's what this operation was doing. I don't know if my card was somewhere and, it was just going on. They were like buying all sorts of stuff. Of course, I did get it resolved. My money is back. There was no way that, someone could fight me as these aren't fraudulent transactions, because I don't know why I'd buy hundreds of membership for the same thing. The good thing is that with the bank, I was able to have this resolved in about 3 days, and money was there back on my account again. Kudos for the fraud team for actually being able to, very quickly I must say, get my account back up to the level where it should have been. Of course, I'm telling this story like a month later and I'm way calmer while telling it. But from this experience, I want to share with everyone some of the steps I'm now taking to make sure that this doesn't occur again. Of course, I didn't, have my card and security stuff waving in the wind, but my paranoia level, it's up here now. Could have been there, but it is up here now. So I'll tell you some of the things that I'm now doing. At the time, I had 2 European bank accounts, but one was just freshly opened for, only about a week at that point. So that didn't really have much money besides some, spending shopping money on it. But what I've started to do is that I've always used Google Pay when I can take my phone and tap it. The interesting thing is that any cards you have stored on there, it actually uses a virtual account number. So I knew that from tapping my phone places that wouldn't have caused any sort of stolen information from my card, because it automatically uses a card that doesn't technically exist. From the new bank account that I got, it was actually a Revolut card that I signed up for. That's how I was able to still pay and shop and survive for those few days while my bank account was being taken care of. An interesting thing is that although I've used the Google Pay to, tap a card and get, use a virtual account, I didn't have anything that can have a virtual card so I can make for over the internet transactions. The good news is that I also realized that Revolut has this ability. So now for some of my transactions online, I am using the Revolut card, the virtual card, just in case, for an extra layer of security, so that if anything happens, it's a virtual number and not the real number on my card. Another addition to that point is, of course, that the banking app that comes along with newer digital banks, as you would say, like Revolut, is that the app is great. It gives you up-to-date transactions. Because the unfortunate thing is, the bank I was with, I know everyone's going to be asking me in the comments, don't worry, I'll put it in the comments which bank I was with. I still am with them, but I've spread my money out in a bit more places now after that occurrence. So I was saying that the app, it gives you up-to-date transactions whenever a transaction occurs. Compared to the other app I was using, where I'd have to go in the app, or I'd only get a text message if it was somewhere outside of Europe. So I feel much more protected and secure knowing that whenever a transaction happens, I get to know that it happened instantly. Yeah, the app that I use for the bike, it did have updates, but those sort of weekly updates that I've now turned on as well. I was like most people, I don't want another email clogging up my inbox, but in this case, yeah, if I had that turned on, I would have recognized sooner as well. So that's definitely a thing that I'll continue to do. Get alerts, whatever they're for, not bother if they're taking up space in my inbox. So my next step was securing my passwords. Now, of course, I've used a password manager. It's one built into Chrome, but I decided, I need to take this a bit to the next level. So I searched through and then I settled on LastPass, pretty much because, the wine has used it before, and I also, signed up for a family plan. Another tip, if you're a couple or a family, go for the family plan instead of individual stuff. Saves you a nice bit of money, whether it's Spotify or in this case, a password manager. Because I wasn't too sure if, some website or something got hacked and then my information got out that way. So at the same time of, updating all my passwords, having something to check that I haven't had any duplicated passwords anywhere, I also went into this site, I can't remember the name, let me check. Yes, have I been pwned? I won't go into the history of that word because you'll see how much of a nerd I am, but this site and some others like it allow you to check to see if your email address was included in breached information. I did check it and I didn't see a recent breach, but at the same time I still decided, let me use some of the software and check for duplicates. If you aren't using something like LastPass, Google. If you're using Chrome, Google also has a password manager built in as well. I'll put the link there, but that would also give you an idea of if you have any duplicated passwords and a health check on your passwords as well. So that's a good habit to keep going to make sure that any accounts that you have aren't duplicated passwords. Because if you're like me, you've been signed up on some sites for at least 15 years now that you can't even remember. So it's a good thing to check out. And the last big thing that I did to combat this from happening again was enable two-factor authentication. Now, I did have a couple places where I had this on, but between when, it was starting to pick up steam and now, well, it's not quite ubiquitous, but should be on its way there, hopefully. It seems that way with most of the bigger websites, was going through all my accounts and enabling the two-factor authentication. Why? Because, hey, you always need more protection. I didn't do it on some other sites because, it slows down the process to have to go in the password and then, getting a notification on your phone and confirming that it's you. But I think that for places where you may have your credit card information stored, that it is worth the hassle of, adding that extra layer of protection to your accounts where you have that sort of sensitive information. All right. Extra point. Speaking of places where you have extra information stored, a little bonus thing I actually did too was that some sites where previously I would have just stored the card information, I would have used, I could have updated it to use some of the virtual card, but also during some of the time between when I had to store the password with them, they've gotten links to other services such as PayPal, so that instead of storing my card information with them, I just link it through my PayPal account. So I also went through my accounts and used any third parties or PayPal like that, so that I don't have my credit card information stored on their account, but rather it all goes through PayPal so that I can see the transactions as well. And when I go through there, PayPal also has a two-factor authentication, so I feel a bit more protected that way as well. So that was quite a little adventure for me about a month ago when that happened. Good thing, have all the money back, and I guess my personal internet space is just a little bit more secure now. I hope that you found some of these tips useful in order to prevent this from happening to you, because we don't want it happening to anyone else. The hackers are out there, stuff like this may happen, and luckily I did have money in other places and I could still shop, and there were no purchases that I had to do or bill payments that would have had to be delayed. So lucky at the timing, and having money in other places, I was able to weather that fairly without bother. But in case you can't, these are some of the protections that you should do as well. If you found this information interesting, life-saving even, please do give the video a like and subscribe, and we'll be back with the next video on hopefully as interesting a topic, but less, panic-inducing for myself. Alright, see y'all people later. Bis später.